Make Room is a novel by Harry Harrison, written in 1966, that looks into the dangers of overpopulation. The novel is probably already one that you're aware of without being aware that you're aware of it. What I just said barely made sense. The novel was adapted into a film in the 70s as Soylent Green, and as most film adaptations of novels, it subverts many plot elements wildly beyond anything what the book ever intended. Take the film's title, Soylent Green. We all know the famous line, "Soylent Green is people!" But in the novel, this isn't the case. Cannibalism is one of the few things that the desperate world that Harrison paints haven't resorted to yet. Soylent Green in the novel is just reconstituted soya and lentils, hence the name. Let me tell you a bit about the book. Set in 1999, we're first introduced to beat cop Andy Rush, living in the day-to-day life of New York. Population 35 million. We're quickly shown that the world is very different from our own. Everyone is crammed together in small, dingy, sweaty dwellings with electricity run off bicycles and water heavily rationed. Initially, most of the action takes place in Big Mike's penthouse to sort of soften the transition between this claustrophobic world that Harrison has created and the world that we inhabit today. But once we move out of Big Mike's penthouse, the book seldom lets up from the claustrophobic feel that it provides you. For example, there was nothing to do, no place to go. The city pressed in around him, and every square foot of it was like this, filled with people, children, noise, heat. He gagged over the rail into the darkness, but nothing came up. The novel falls comfortably into the category of speculative fiction and deals initially with 5 key characters: Andy, Billy Chung, Sol, Big Mike, and Shirl. At first the novel seems to be pretty disjointed, but after a fateful killing by Billy Chung, all the characters suddenly meld together over this one critical event. The majority of the novel is about romance under stress. After Andy and Shirl's initial romance in the big tower block that Big Mike lived in, Shirl is forced to live with Andy in his comparatively squalid conditions. The rest of the novel deals with the strain that their relationship is put under. As Andy is assigned to investigate the Big Mike case, it leaves him precious little time for his love interest. The book was inspired by concerns of overpopulation and birth control that were coming into the forefront of the latter-day 60s. Indeed, one of the key inspirations behind Harrison's novel is Paul R. Elric, who was the founder of the Zero Population Growth Foundation and also wrote the introduction to the first paperback edition of the book. Harrison plays out his concerns by giving them a voice through Sol, an elderly man who often acts to remind the younger characters what life used to be like before the population explosion. In one instance towards the end of the novel, Sol makes a rebuke of the world at large and is filled with Harrison's signature contempt of authoritarian figures. Not good enough. Neither is the pill. Not for everybody. When are they going to say okay to the loop? This is the one that really works. And do you know how long it has been around and absolutely foolproof and safe and harmless and all the rest? Since 1964, when the bright boys at Johns Hopkins licked all the problems and side effects. That's how long. For 35 years, we've had this little piece of plastic that costs maybe a couple of cents. Once inserted, it stays in for years, it doesn't interfere with any of the body processes, it doesn't fall out. In fact, the woman doesn't even know it's there. But as long as it is, she is not going to get pregnant. Remove it and she can have kids again. Nothing has changed. And the funny part is, no one is even sure how it works. It's a mystery. Maybe it should be spelt with a capital M, mystery, so your church can accept it and say it's God's will whether the thing is going to work or not. Sol, you're being blasphemous. Me? Never. But I got just as much right as the next guy to take a guess at what God is thinking. Anyway, it really has nothing to do with him. I'm just trying to find an excuse for the Catholic Church to accept the thing and give the suffering human race a break. The book certainly is a dark one and whisks you away to a world you might sooner not want to visit. But for anyone who enjoys really grim situations and enjoys reading about them, like me, then this book is definitely for you. If nothing else, you can read the book and then make a drinking game out of the film. I suggest the rule, drink every time they do something in the film not mentioned in the book. See you next Thursday. Tough watching. As Andy is assigned to the Big Mike cake...